Hi, I'm Timothy Mallory from Crash Course US History. Crash Course US History? Timothy Mallory?
Mr. Mallory? Where's John Green?
Well, Mrs. Walker's student from the past, John Green sort of... We sort of miss him, alright? So everything past Abomination, or at least everything after his second term. What happened after his second term?
We will make America great again.
I'm running for president. More people will die from extreme heat by the year 2040.
It's official. The government shutdown is now the longest in U.S. history.
That the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so.
Now to growing concerns about the deadly coronavirus officially hitting the U.S. Here's what we know.
We will stop the steal.
Oh, it's 10 years of this history. Where John Green left off with Obama's second term, the United States was about to enter a new era of politics and policy, both domestically and globally. On the domestic side, Obama would sign many acts that would help benefit the American people. On February 12, 2014, with Executive Order 13658, in order to increase the minimum wage from $7.25 to $10.10 for all workers on federal contracts. Executive Order 11246, adding sexual orientation and gender identity to the list of protected categories in the existing executive order covering federal contractors. And on November 20th, 2014, with the Immigration Accountability Executive Action, which will crack down on illegal immigration at the border, deporting felonies, not families, and accountability with criminal background checks and taxes. Because you know what America likes? Taxes.
So to begin,
all these policies, although executive actions, helped out everyday Americans, especially government contractors, by having the US government intervene to protect their rights. And Obama made some major moves in foreign policy. For instance, Obama sanctioned Russia in March 6, 2014 after their invasion of Crimea in Ukraine. Fun fact! One of the few times that two warring countries also had a McDonald's. Not the first, and definitely not the last. Also a year later, on January 17th, the United States and Iran came to agreements to prevent Iran's acquirement of nuclear weapons in exchange for lifting some sanctions placed on the nation. And in 2016, Obama will become the first sitting president to visit Cuba since Calvin Coolidge in 1928. However, many of these efforts will be soon contested. Oh, it's time for the mystery document? The rules are simple. I guess whatever's inside of this mystery document, or I get shocked with the shock pen. What do I have for today? Our country's in serious trouble. We don't have victories anymore. We used to have victories, but we don't have them. When was the last time anybody saw us beating, let's say, China in a trade deal? They kill us. I beat China all the time. All the time. When did we beat Japan at anything? They sent over their cars by the millions, and what did we do? When was the last time you saw a Chevrolet in Tokyo? It doesn't exist, folks. They beat us all the time. Well, we hit this part of US history. I'm gonna beat something today. And it's not getting shocked by this shock man. It's Donald Trump's presidential announcement. Yes! Well, Sam told me because I got the document way too fast apparently. I have to read another document later. Damn it, Sam! Anyways, we hit the part of US history where... And apparently the part of history where the world, the US, and the studio is on fire. This started in the 2016 election. Running for the Democrats was Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State under the administration of Barack Obama, US Senator from New York, and the First Lady of that saxophone guy on Animaniacs, Bill Clinton. And the Republican ticket was Donald Trump, media personality and businessman of Trump Organization. And unlike his opponent, he had little to no political experience. And just like Bush, Trump was organizing a coalition of religious people and fiscal conservatives, who were mostly white. And just like George W. Bush in the 2000 election, Donald Trump also got a lot of votes in 2016. However, not as much as Hillary Clinton. Clinton got 2.8 million more votes than Donald Trump, the largest popular vote margin of any losing presidential candidate in United States history. But Trump was able to swing the electoral votes in his favor, with the breaking of the blue wall, with Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin flipping in favor of Republicans, which voted in Obama in high margins. and haven't voted red since the election of George H.W. Bush in 1988, and in the case of Michigan, since Ronald Reagan. However, some analysts claim that the blue wall was already cracking as those three states were close in the 2000 and 2004 elections. As the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump would do what most US presidents do best: immediately create more noise about the office. For instance, just a day after Donald Trump's inauguration, there was a women's march in Washington, D.C. in support of gender equality, civil rights, and other issues expected to face challenges from Donald Trump's administration. So, hang on. So with 2 days of Donald Trump's administration done out of 1,461, let's just cover what he did for the rest of them. As he campaigned for America First, the first thing he did in office was to withdraw from as many international agreements as he could. In January 23, 2017, the US withdrew from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which left the trade agreement with 11 other countries in the Asia-Pacific, including Canada and Mexico, that eliminated over 18,000 taxes that various countries put on Made in America products. On June 1, 2017, the US then withdrew from the Paris Climate Accord, an international treaty on climate change, where the overreaching goal is to hold the increase of global temperature to below 2 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels, or in American units, 35.6 degrees Fahrenheit, or in true American units, the hypothetical temperature for that non-existent ice cream from McDonald's to melt at. I say hypothetical, because that ice cream machine is still broken down. And around a year later, on May 8, 2018, the United States withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal. Not only these withdrawals were on Obama-era policies, these actions also set back the United States further back on issues like global warming and globalization. But America was about to make another first, meeting Kimmy Boy himself, Kim Jong-un. Just as the Trump administration started, North Korea launched their first intercontinental ballistic missile, demonstrating that North Korea has the potential to reach the US homeland for the first time. Unless if we shoot down the missile beforehand. Trump threatened to respond with Fire and Fury like the world has never seen, which sounds like a sequel of Fast and Furious Fire and Fury, or an American classic of Cuban Missile Crisis and nuclear fallout. But then Kim Jong-un declared victory, proclaiming that his nuclear forces completed the mission, then shifted his attention to diplomacy. Trump and Kim Jong-un would meet up in Singapore in 2018, Hanoi in 2019, and in the 2019 Korea's and United States DMZ summit on the potential of denuclearization process of North Korea. And although the talks caused a period of de-escalation between the two nations, North Korea still has nuclear weapons today, as we speak. Well, you see, there's more to Trump's foreign affairs, like the trade war with China, imposing tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, or how the US threatened to leave NATO. But we have to move on. On the domestic front, especially with one of Donald Trump's biggest campaign promises, immigration, especially with America's southern border with Mexico. Dear Lord, I hope I don't get cancelled. Everybody knows about his promise to build a wall, a great big wall in fact, but there is more to his immigration policies. Like the controversial child separation at the border, between April and June of 2018, almost 2,000 children were separated from their parents as they crossed the border into the United States. After public opinion widely condemned such actions, Donald Trump's administration ended the policy. How Donald Trump and Congress caused a 35-day government shutdown from December 18, 2018 to January 25, 2019, the longest government shutdown over funding over the wall. Then, in February 15, 2019, the border wall became a national emergency in order to gain $3.6 billion worth of funding. Through further approval of Congress, $4.5 billion was actually approved by Congress. If that sounds like a lot, Trump originally opposed $18 billion for 452 miles of the wall. Now, out of the 425 miles, 80 miles were supposed to be newly built. 372 were renovated. Now I can go on about the wall or other immigration policies, like in March 6, 2017 with the executive order to ban 6 Muslim-majority countries and temporarily suspending the Refugee Administration Program. Or other aspects of Donald Trump's administration, like his impeachment, because of allegations that Trump sought help from Ukrainian authorities to favor him in the 2020 US presidential election. Or the creation of the US Space Force, we are finally one step closer to that Star Wars program. Someday. Or his actual rollbacks on climate change. However, the end of the 2010s and the beginning of the 2020s will truly test the United States and the rest of the world. In December of 2019, patients from a wet market in Wuhan became ill, and in January 2020, the first cases were reported in the United States. Many countries around the world will handle this new pandemic differently, and for the United States, yeah, our response was sort of interesting. In February, Trump limits travel from China and sets up the coronavirus task force with the head being his vice president. Fly on his head, Mike Pence. But by March, COVID-19 was a global pandemic and the world handled it like AP kids after coming home from their tests. Crashing into their beds, but instead of kids crashing, more like the global economy and the well-being of people. Every city closed around the world. Businesses, restaurants, bars, and even events shut their doors. And for many of us who lived through it, it was like one day the world was normal, the next day it wasn't. Anyways, on March 27, 2020, President Trump signed the $2 trillion emergency CARES spending bill. And like the Patriot Act, CARES actually stands for something for once. The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. The CARES Act provided money for all individuals, corporations, small businesses, and state and local governments. Despite this, unemployment hits 22 million in late April, and 350,000 people would die directly to COVID by the end of 2020. This wasn't helped by efforts made by the administration than the already pre-mentioned CARES Act. On June 20, 2020, President Trump holds an indoor campaign rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, even though much of the world is still locked inside. And in July 7, 2020, the United States would withdraw from the World Health Organization, effective in 2021.
Mr. Malari, isn't 2020 an election year?
Yes, Mrs. Walker, student from the past. Yes, in fact, it was an election year. Now let's hope the 2020 election wouldn't be as bad as the last one. Well, Sam told me it would be worse. The Trump administration will start the re-election campaign on June 8, 2019, and this campaign will be the PR department's worst nightmare. Besides the impeachment and the bad press about Trump's action during COVID, Trump suggests delaying the November presidential election because his concerns about mail-in voting. And after Minneapolis police officers murdered George Floyd, the world went into protest against police brutality, including in Washington, D.C., better known as the Black Lives Matter movement. And in order for President Trump to have a photo op near St. John's Church in Lafayette Square, riot police and military police would use tear gas and stun grenades to clear protesters assembled at the park. Meanwhile, Democrats would nominate Joseph R. Biden Jr., previously served as the 47th Vice President from 2009 to 2017 under President Barack Obama, and represented Delaware in the United States Senate from 1973 to 2009. And he's a dedicated ice cream lover. Boy, ain't he an ice cream lover. Anyways, the 2020 election will be one of the most divided in our nation. Not only with Republicans calling the election rigged even before any voting took place.
It's a rigged election. It's the only way we're going to lose.
An association to far-right groups like the Proud Boys.
And
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
And the pre-aforementioned Black Lives Matter movement and the COVID-19 lockdowns, putting a strain on U.S. society in general. But both candidates are the oldest mainstream candidates in U.S. history, Trump being 77 and Biden being 81 at time of filming. Ah, crap, it's time for the other mystery document. Alright, so you know the rules, and so do I. I have to guess the author of this mystery document, or I get shocked by this thing again. When you stand strong in your beliefs and not a yes man, you find out who your loyal friends are. Those you thought you could count on turn their backs and walk away when the heat gets too hot to handle. I have not seen him back down from his beliefs. He stands firm and moves on, even when the fire is blistering his feet. In a world that is not held accountable for their actions, it shows a true character to stand up, apologize for one of the mistakes, and take full responsibility. Well, I'll be completely honest with you, I don't know who the hell we're talking about in this instance. I mean, it sounds like someone from like January 6th, except I don't know anybody from January 6th.
Hold on. We forgot to tell you that you're actually supposed to guess who it's talking about, not the author.
What do you mean who's being talked about? I thought we always said the author on Crash Course.
Just guess.
Okay, well, if it's someone about, it sounds like Donald Trump, right?
Nope.
What do you mean no? Who is it?
Derek Evans.
Who the hell is Derek Evans? Okay. Alright, well, you know what this means. Alright. 3, 2, 1.